Sewing with stretchy knits is not a strength of mine, which is why I'm going to force myself to do so this week. As much as I prefer sewing with other materials, I do still want to practice the things that I don't feel as good at, and I have these in my stash, and I might as well use them up. If you're new here, hi, my name is Melody. I make videos about customizing your wardrobe, creating costumes, and generally just being a crafty woman. You can find me getting up to those same nefarious activities on Instagram as well. Anyway, the plan is to essentially clone a couple pairs of my lounge pants that I have. I guess they could also be sleepwear, but they're the comfy pants that I like to wear around the house when I'm working from home, and I just want more of them. I just want more of them. I just have a hard time finding loungewear pants that I like in the stores, so I might as well just try to clone my two favorites that I already have. I want to try recreating this flared pair in blue. These are kind of fitted through the thigh and then they flare at the bottom. And then I want to try recreating this totally wide leg pair in the rust. There's going to be some style differences as far as like the waistband and the way the pockets are set up, or in this case, this one only has like a dumb little insufficient pocket on the back that we are going to change. We're going to change the pocket situation there, but I'm going to try just tracing the shapes basically to see if I can clone my pants. To cut out my pieces, I folded my fabric in half lengthwise, then laid the pants to be cloned right on top. For the back of the pants, I made sure to fold out the crotch seam as much as possible, then measured and marked the difference of what I couldn't fold out. I did the same for the two front pieces, just folding in the crotch to get the seam right on the edge. For all of these, I cut about a ½ inch away from the garment for seam allowance. Next was the easy part, attaching fronts to backs along the inseam, then connecting those halves at the crotch, then adding my pockets before closing up the outer side seams. I did place my pockets a bit too low, however, which we will see come back to bite me in the butt a bit later. So I have all the pieces assembled for the first pair of pants that are based on these, and so far so good. I think they're gonna fit fine, maybe a bit looser than the initial pair, but that's fine because they're meant to be comfy. So the pieces are put together, but now I need to turn my attention to the waistband. Now this pair that I'm basing this off of, the waistband is a separate fabric. It's a different fabric, and it looks and feels like there is a thick band of elastic sandwiched in there, stitched to the fabric with 2 stitches here, and then there's a drawstring pulled in between that. I'm not sure if I want to do a drawstring, but either way, I don't have a matching but different fabric to do a separate waistband, so I'm going to do a fold over waistband and then sandwich the elastic in that. I suppose I could cut a separate band of the same fabric. I wonder if I should do that. I wonder if I should just cut a separate piece. Maybe I should try that. I do have some leftover of the blue. You know what? I think I will cut out a separate waistband with the blue fabric and just see how it is stretch-wise, because I don't want to make my waistband too small to get up over my butt and then these are pointless. So if I cut a separate piece of fabric for the waistband, then I can trim off the excess fabric from this. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Yeah, I've got some playing around to do. This is the tricky part. Putting the pieces together was fine. This is the tricky part. I cut a band of fabric twice the height of the original waistband, adding an extra inch for seam allowance. Seeing that it would indeed stretch over my butt just fine, I went ahead with cutting my elastic, which I then sandwiched inside the band of knit fabric. I think creating the waistband separately instead of folding it over from the body of the pants is gonna work. Except when closing up this whole thing. The zigzag stitch was really messy and just did not work at all, so I ended up switching to a straight stitch. It still stretches perfectly fine. I also decided I'm not going to do the drawstring. I think simplicity is better. Let's just go with a simple, wide elastic band. Yeah, now I just need to trim off the excess here and attach our waistband, and then we'll be getting closer to finished. After cutting off the excess fabric, I marked the waistband in quarters and matched up those marks with the front, back, and side seams. I stretched the waistband slightly as I attached it to the pants. At this point, however, I wasn't loving how the pockets looked or sat. They were obviously too big under the fabric, and they pulled down since they weren't attached to the seam of the waistband. I started by closing up the pocket opening about 2 inches more at the bottom, then cut off a bit of the bottom of each pocket, which I rounded out on the serger. Then I added a small stitch to attach the front of the pocket to the front of the pants, keeping it in place. My last task was to clean up the hems, which meant coming face to face with my old nemesis, the twin needle. With those pants done, it was on to the next pair, which I more or less completed in the same way, except I was able to address some of the issues I had with the first pair. I attached my pieces together, inseams, crotch seam, then outside seams, but made sure to cut my pocket pieces smaller and line them up with the top of the pants this time. I made the waistband in the same manner as well, just with a wider piece of elastic, and again defeated my adversary, the twin needle, on the hem. At this point, I was feeling pretty good, and also like this video would be way too short if I stopped here, so I thought, hey, let's try making a third item. Okay, let's get into it. I thought this fabric would make the loveliest long duster cardigan, so the plan was to clone a long cardigan I already have, but make it even longer. Just like with the crotch seam of the pants that I cloned, I was careful to fold out the seams of the armpit and neckline when cutting my pieces. And here is where I made my first mistake. Thinking I could salvage enough fabric to be able to cut out my sleeves with the texture going the same direction as the body, I shifted the center back fold of the back piece as far over as I could. I should have left the fold centered where it originally was, so I could flare out the bottom of the back a bit more, then just cut my sleeves from the remaining piece of fabric with the texture going the other direction. Second mistake, I used that remaining narrow strip of fabric to cut out 2 very narrow sleeve pieces, and then because they were so narrow, I also cut out 2 triangles to insert at the bottom to create a slight bell sleeve. As I started putting the pieces together, things were looking pretty good until I put together those tiny sleeves. The opening for the shoulders was far too small, despite the rest of the sleeve actually being okay. So I had to backtrack and do what I'd been trying to avoid all along, making my sleeves from the fabric with the texture going the other direction, which I now also had less of because this was where I cut out those dang triangles for the first attempt at sleeves. I know, I should have made a mock-up. I usually do. Add it to my list of sins for this project. But hey, at least my new sleeves looked fine and were exactly the right size for the armholes. So, that worked out. I decided to bring down the front neckline a bit, then using the fabric of one of my failed sleeves, I made a pair of pockets that I ended up not using. We'll touch on that later. Then it was time for round 3 against the twin needle to finish the hem, and using the fabric of the other failed sleeve, I made cuffs for my sleeves, cutting them on a slight angle to continue the line of the slight flare. I'm in the home stretch with this thing. I did decide to forego adding pockets on the outside. I made pockets. They're literally They're right here. There's 2 of them. I made pockets to attach to the outside, and I pinned them on and just like wore it with them pinned, and I did not like how that looked. I mean, I have them made. I'm not gonna get rid of these yet. I can always go back and add the pockets later if I really want them. I do kind of wish I'd gone for a side seam pocket, but I was worried about that being too heavy for this fabric because it's quite stretchy and there's a lot of weight already pulling this down just from the fabric itself. The fabric itself is weighing itself down. So I was worried about a side seam pocket doing the same. Anyway, no pockets for now, which is a bummer because you know we love pockets. So now the last thing I need to do is finish up the front edge and the neckline. And unfortunately, because I don't have any of this fabric left to do that with, what I'm left with are some different like bias tape and random binding things that I have in my notions because I'm not going out to the store. I don't have time. I was really hoping that I would have enough of this salvaged binding from long ago because it's a really close match color-wise. I was really hoping I would have enough. I don't. I considered just doing a black edge binding. I didn't really like that. It was just kind of bland. So what I'm gonna try is my last ditch effort of like, this is all I have. That leaves me with trying to make my own bias tape, and I think I'm gonna use this. Comment down below if you were here for the video when I made this. I've had this in my drawer of stuff to either alter or reuse for fabric, and that's what I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna take this apart and try cutting it into long strips to use as an edge binding. It's gonna be contrasting a little bit, but it's similar enough in tone that I think it will be a nice clean finish, give it a little bit of a fun touch with that shine rather than like the matte flat black edge binding. I don't know guys, I'm just trying things. This cardigan has very much just been winging it and just kind of pulling it together as we go. So let's make some edge binding and get this stupid thing done because I'm tired, man. Just want to go outside. You might think I felt some kind of way about cutting apart this top that I made a while ago, and for some other projects I would, but I felt no qualms at all about cutting this apart to make a binding. Honestly, good riddance. My third mistake though, or fourth, I've lost count, was cutting my strips too narrow. I cut them 1 inch wide, worried that I wouldn't have enough fabric if I cut them any wider, but as you'll soon see, that did not work out. Unfortunately, I have hit a serious roadblock with the final step of this cardigan. I'm so frustrated, but I just don't realistically see this getting done for this video. So I had started putting my satin edge binding on, and like, it's fine, except for the parts where it pulled out from the stitch. That looks really crappy. But basically, the first problem I was running into is that the strips I cut are just way too thin. I wasn't able to double fold them the way I was thinking. So that was kind of just stupidity on my part, just not really thinking that through. What that led to was then needing to double up the strips. So I attached one, and then I realized I needed more. So I then attached a second strip, and then I was basically just folding that all over and stitching it down along the front. I just don't like it. I really don't. Like, I have enough to finish this front edge. It looks fine. It would finish the garment, but I don't like it, and it doesn't look as clean as I want. I don't love this satiny fabric with this more earthy texture. Just the textures, I don't think I like the textures together. I don't know, I just don't like it. And so my first thought though was, well, I have to finish this for the video. I can't have an unfinished garment in the video. And so I'll just finish it with this edge binding that I don't like, knowing that I'm gonna buy something to redo it with. But then I thought, no, that is stupid. Why would I finish all of this work knowing that I'm just going to have to do all the work to undo it? That doesn't make any sense. So you know what? I'm not finishing it. I'm not finishing it because I don't have the materials right now that I need to do that the way that I want. So it makes more sense to just pause where I'm at and finish this another day when I've had time to get the materials I need. Also, I'm just so frustrated with this right now. I'm so frustrated, which is just putting me like really not in a good headspace. So I just need to like freaking get this out of here and go outside. And you might be thinking, well, why not just run out to Walmart right now and get what you need? Well, because Walmart is a minimum 25-minute drive away, and I don't really want to drive to Walmart that far away for literally one thing. That doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I'm just gonna wait on that until the next time that I need to go there. I don't like going to Walmart regardless, so why would I add an extra trip for myself? It's a miserable place. So yeah, I'm freaking annoyed. I'm so freaking annoyed. Let's go literally touch some grass and some trees and moss and things. Despite all the frustration of this unfinished cardigan, let's take a look at what did work out. Okay, so I promise I'm done crashing out about this cardigan. I got some sleep, I spent some time in the garden, I had a stiff drink. It's called balance. I'm okay. I am still very disappointed though. I think mostly because I'm really liking where this is going, and I'm just so frustrated that I can't finish it right now. So the issue isn't really anything that I can or can't do. It's just that I don't have what I need to finish this on hand like I thought I did. I think giving myself a little bit longer to finish this is going to allow me to finish it in a way that I'm really happy with, rather than just finishing it for the video knowing that I'm gonna have to go back and undo and redo all of my work. That is such a pain in the butt. But yeah, other than the fact that I couldn't finish it, I am happy with where it's going. The sleeves actually are better than I was thinking. I was a little bit worried that having to cut them against the grain was gonna be a huge issue or just look weird because the texture is going in a different direction. It's perfectly fine. It doesn't bother me at all. I didn't have any issues attaching it, and then the sleeve length turned out pretty good with the cuffs. I like the slight flare. It's not an overly dramatic bell sleeve. This will have to wait for another day, but I like where it's going. I'm feeling better today than I was yesterday. But let's talk about the things I did finish and can feel a little bit better about. My two pants. I have to say overall, I am very happy with how these turned out and surprised. Guys, I think I did it. I think I conquered my fear of knit fabrics. I think what it really came down to was really, obviously making sure that you do test stitches on a scrap of the fabric like you would with any project, taking the time to play around with the tension settings, and really just getting in there and doing it. I'm very much a hands-on learner. I think most people are. So you just got to do it. So these both turned out slightly differently than what I copied them from, obviously, because I literally just like slapped them on the fabric and started tracing. But the good thing about stretch fabrics like this is that they are a little bit forgiving if the sizes and shapes aren't 100% correct. So weird thing, like this one turned out looser fitting than its inspiration pair, which is fine. I don't mind it being looser through the leg. It is a bit bunchy at the front at the groin, so I might need to take it in a little bit there along the crotch seam, but otherwise these are going to be perfectly fine for a pair of comfy pants that I wear around the house or to sleep in. And then with this second pair, some of the little issues that I confronted making this first blue pair, I was able to address the second time through making this rusty brown pair, and again turned out slightly differently than the pair I was copying, and actually kind of in the opposite way. These are a little bit more snug than this pair that I copied it from, but that's fine. I don't mind. They still fit, it's still comfortable, and yeah, they're gonna be great to wear around the house. These both are a thinner material than I would feel comfortable wearing out and about. Like, I've worn this black pair a few times when I've had very early morning rehearsals, like with community theater and whatever. I don't think I'll wear these out of the house because the material is really thin. But these will be perfect for days when I am working at home. So I have conquered my fear of knit fabrics. Still can't say they're my favorite to work with. I am looking forward to getting back to working with sturdier, stiffer fabrics. I don't love these, but I'm not afraid of them anymore. That's an accomplishment. Thank you guys so much for watching, and sticking with me through this very stressful process. If you're still here, like, really, thank you. Thank you for watching me crash out over a freaking cardigan. If you're still here at the end of this video, leave a list emoji down in the comments. If you want to hang out again next week, make sure that you subscribe, and I will see you guys when I see ya. Okay, bye. But yeah, that's the game plan. Okay.